Budget Knitters Podcast, Episode 1. I have not thought of a title for this, but in the spirit of everything TV, let's just call it Pilot. So my name is Will Spargur. I am 26 years old, and I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm originally from Kentucky. So I am here to give my take on knitting. I've been knitting for about 6 or 7 years, but I'm kind of new to the whole knit universe thing. I decided to start this podcast because this seems to be where knitters go to do everything and meet people in the community and learn new things. So I really wanted to see if I could be a part of that, and I wanted to kind of give my take on things. So this is called the Budget Knitters Podcast because I use affordable ways to do a lot of the things that the professionals do. For instance, I don't go buy stitch markers. I use safety pins and paper clips, or strands of yarn, scrap yarn. I also tend to use whatever bags I have laying around for project bags, things like that. So I wanted to kind of give some tips and tricks into how you can become a good knitter, but on a budget, because I know some of the tools that people are buying or that they're recommending, some of them cost a little bit of money, and not everybody has that, but knitting should be accessible to everyone, so that's kind of why I wanted to start all of this. So just a little bit more about me. Again, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've lived here for about 2 years. As of the filming of this video, I'm actually in between jobs. I just resigned from a job as a recruiting coordinator for a timeshare company, but I'm getting ready to become an inventory control specialist for an in-house rental property management company. I'll be starting that in about a week, so I thought I'd take some time off to really get this started and get it going. I have a degree in music, a bachelor's in music. I am a woodwinds player. I started on saxophone, then I also play bassoon, clarinet, and flute. I play in a flute choir here locally, and I manage their social media pages. Other than that, I'm kind of just a regular average guy. I knit and crochet. I do both of those. I listen to music, I read books, I watch movies and TV shows just like any other red-blooded American person. So really not a whole lot to me, but I guess the crux of who I am is just somebody who likes to be creative and do all sorts of fun things. So there's a few things I would like to do with this podcast. I want to do some tutorials, again, showing you how to use like safety pins, paper clips, strands of yarn to keep your place when you're doing your work. I want to show you the different tools that are available for people who are on a budget. I would also like to give you just a little bit more insight about me, like what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what I do when I'm not knitting or crocheting. And of course, I want to give you a look at the projects I'm working on, because that's the important thing, right? That's what everybody wants to watch podcasts for. We want to see what everybody is creating, what they've finished, what they're working on, what they want to cast on. So I want to do all of that, but from my perspective, I haven't really met a whole lot of knitters out here in Las Vegas. So, hey, if you're a Las Vegas knitter or crocheter, I would love to meet you. Hit me up in the comments, let me know that you're around. I've only encountered one knit shop in town, that's Sin City Knit Shop. And I actually want to put a link for them in the description box below because they're awesome. They're a local store. That's where I've been getting a lot of my tools that I use for knitting. So I'm going to put a link down there so that you can find out more about them. I believe they also have some locally dyed yarn. I haven't tried any of it yet, but I do know that they have some available. So, projects, knitting. Finished objects. I don't have any currently. Anything that I have finished, I've actually given away. I've spent a lot of my recent time making gifts for people, including shawls, blankets, socks. I have some of those. You can see my Instagram page for all of the cool things I've been working on. But I do have some whips for you. And with that, I'm going to kind of show you my storage containers for all of this, because I don't really have all the same tools, but I do kind of want to go through some of it. So let's start with this. Okay, so this is just a satchel, a cloth satchel I got, but in here I am crocheting a virus shawl in alternating colors, and for that I'm using Red Heart acrylic yarn. It was pretty cheap, but it came in these massive balls, and the person I'm making this for wanted something very dark and neutral. She likes blacks and silvers, and she's not really too concerned with the softness. She just wanted the pattern. She thought it looked nice, so I'm working on that. And I keep it here in this satchel because if I'm going to work on this, it's easy to carry around. You know, it's already got the strap on it. And the only thing I ever have to add to this is the hook, but I keep the hook somewhere separately, which I also want to show you. But I have finished one virus shawl before. You can see that on my Instagram. It was made it using Karen Cakes acrylic yarns that you get at Michael's. And I can't exactly remember the name of the colorway, but it was like blues and purples and pinks. I think it was maybe something in the wild berry. I think maybe that's what it was called. But the person I gave that to really enjoyed that as their gift. So I'm making one actually for her sister. So that's who that is for. Next thing. So I am a big fan of foldable storage cubes. And this one actually my mom bought a lot of. She bought like 3 cardboard boxes full of these things that were just flattened out, and they came with lids separately. So these are just foldable lids. I actually have 2 projects in here. Oh no, I think I have 3. Again, so project bags, I don't like all of those really fancy project bags like Mrs. Brown's bags. That's Jody from the Grocery Girls. Love her stuff, but I don't really have a whole lot of money, so I haven't bought those things. But people, you know, when they gift you canvas bags, this is a Nightmare Before Christmas bag that somebody had given me. But in here, blocking my face, in here I have a sock cast on, wrapped up. I started this, and this was supposed to be for me, but I cast on too few stitches. I made a swatch, and it was fine, but then the pattern I was using, my dog's playing with a squeaky toy. The pattern I was using didn't stretch as much as I wanted it to, and it wouldn't fit around my foot. So this is cast on, so in case I counter somebody with a smaller foot, I can just finish this. The other thing that's in this bag, I designed a pattern, which I actually haven't knit it yet. I designed the pattern, and this was kind of the test piece for it. I know the light shining through the back is going to make that hard to see, but it's supposed to be a table runner, and I wanted to have it done for Thanksgiving, but I haven't found the yarn that I want to use for it yet. So this was kind of a test piece to try the different parts of the pattern, see what I liked, see what I didn't, and then I wrote the pattern. The next thing is to find the right yarn and knit that up. So done with that. I'm actually going to put this down because these next 2 are kind of big. So probably my biggest project to date that I haven't finished. I've been working on it for several months. I came across this tutorial on Very Pink Knits, and it was for the 10-stitch blanket. And if you're unfamiliar with that pattern, look it up. I'll put a link in the description box below. It's a blanket that you knit, and you only have 10 stitches on the needle at a time, and you knit it up in a spiral. And I've got a few different colors in here somewhere. Red, brown, and green. I was going to call it my log cabin blanket, but it's getting pretty big. I would just like to keep going with it. The wider it gets, the longer it takes. So it's kind of one of those that I'm only work on when I know I have a lot of time. Same with a couple of the other projects I've got going. Right now, I mostly have just large projects. I also have a rule, which is I never cast on more than 5 things at a time, because if I do more than that, I'll get overwhelmed. And I always try to have 1 or 2 small projects cast on, only because it's easier to feel accomplished when you've got something small that you can work on along with something large. So with that blanket, I also have another blanket I'm working on in here, and it's rolled up. This is crocheted, but I've only got a few rows done. I'm using the Bernay Blanket Ombre. I'm not exactly sure what the name of the colorway is because I've lost the sleeves, the slips, the labels. This is going to take a while because I haven't, well, first of all, the yarn's kind of expensive, and you don't get a whole lot out of one ball. So this is actually made to fit a queen mattress. The width is, I think it's 128 stitches. I just haven't really worked on it because crocheting, while it is faster, this yarn is, it's that microfiber yarn, and it's kind of coarse when it's running across your skin, and I haven't really found a desire to go back to working with it just yet, but I do want to finish it because I love the color, and I think it'll be really gorgeous when I'm done. I just, I haven't taken the time to actually finish it. So yes, I like storage cubes. I like keeping things in storage cubes. I think they're very, very handy, and you know, it's not really see-through, so you can keep everything kind of put away if you're not the kind of person that likes to show your clutter. And I'm not necessarily somebody that likes to show my clutter. So this is great for me because I can have all of it but keep it separate and out of the way. Okay, so this next bit is actually going to cover... Actually, you know what? I'll do this one first. So again, project bags. This was when I bought something at Apple. I had a little bit extra money. I think I was buying like one of the Magic Mouse things for my desktop. But gift bags. Just, you can buy a pack of gift bags at like Dollar Tree or Walmart. $5-6. Well, if you're at Dollar Tree, it'll be $1, but $5-6. It doesn't take a lot. You can keep anything in here, and some of them look really nice. And so that's why I use these. You can carry them around, not a big deal. And some of them are actually pretty sturdy. But in here, I am doing a pie shawl. I am on maybe almost halfway done. I've got 288 stitches cast on right now, or I've increased to that, and I have to go to 576 stitches with 96 rows at 576 stitches. So I've got quite a ways to go. I'm using Lion Brand Mandala yarn. I think I've got the label right here. So this one is Sphinx, so Lion Brand Mandala. And it's got a lot of blues, but it's also got some other colors in it. And I really like variegated yarns, self-striping yarns. I think it makes things interesting. Now, what I did with this is I was new to the idea of a pie shawl, and I watched a video, somebody who explained kind of how it works, the number of stitches you cast on, how you increase, and how many rows you knit with that number of stitches. And I found that when you use a variegated yarn with something that has a pattern, you kind of take away from the pattern. You can't see it as well because you're distracted by the color. So what I really wanted to do is I just wanted to knit a circle, just a plain circle knitting in the round, and just so you could see the color. I thought the color would be more important in this case. So that's kind of what I focused on. And also I can get an idea about how long it would take. I've been working on this for a couple of weeks, and I've still got quite a ways to go. But I think it'll be really nice when I'm done. I just have to finish it. She's got that squeaker again. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is going to combine kind of a few things. People like to take their knitting with them, and I like to do the same. I actually take it to work with me to do while I'm on my lunch or my break. Sometimes if I'm having a slow day at work, I'll pull some of it out and just use it to relieve some stress. I could have bought like a project bag or something like that, but what I did is I went to Walmart and I bought a diaper bag. So this is just a diaper bag you can get at Walmart. I can't remember how much I paid for it. I think it was only like $25, maybe $30. But it's got pockets in the front, big pocket here, and a pocket in the back. Zipper, very sturdy, strap for carrying. I take this with me when I know that I need all of my tools. So in the back I actually keep a binder. I print out patterns that I like, and I keep them in here, divided by tabs. Apparently I also keep some other things in here. But I've got a sock pattern, some scarf patterns, some shawl patterns. Again, where I also crochet, there's some crocheting patterns in here. There's some patterns I haven't started yet, but I want to. And then in the back I keep notebook paper, because I keep lists of who I'm making things for. When I was designing a pattern, I was listing out all of the things I needed to do, trying to test things out to see how things would work. This is kind of how I do trial and error. I use my patterns that I'm knitting that other people have written, and then I try to observe the way the stitches work. So like, how does a slip-stitch knit differ from a slip knit two together, pass slip stitch over, or a slip knit pass slip stitch over, or a slip two knit one pass both slip stitches over. You know, those are all different kinds of left-leaning decreases. Left-leaning. Or right-leaning, excuse me. Is that right? I get them backwards. I understand what they do, but I can't picture it in my head and remember which one goes which way. Anyway, those are all different kinds of the same type of decrease, but they all look different. So I like to make notes on, when I'm doing a pattern, what they look like, and then maybe I can incorporate those later, because I would eventually like to design patterns instead of just knitting other people's designs. So I keep that in my diaper bag. Now in here I've got a project going. This is a half circle pie shawl hearts. This is the Elizabeth Zimmerman pie shawl hearts. This was designed for her 100th anniversary, I believe. And this one I'm also using Lion Brand Mandala. This is a DK weight yarn that is also variegated, but it's in pinks, purples, some whites, and I thought that would go really well with hearts. So I've got this cast on, and again with lace it's hard to see the patterns that are in here. It'll look better when it's blocked out, of course. But I'm working on this. I've got one more row of this pattern section here. I've got to do one more heart. And then I'll go to another section of vines, which is this section here. And then you do two more heart pattern repeats and bind off, and then of course you wet block it. I've been working on this for a really long time. Lace is new to me. I'm not very good at it, and I'm always, like, it's so loose that I'm afraid I'm always going to drop it, so it takes me a lot longer to do anything with it. But I'm actually really pleased with how it's working out. I've only had to tink back once when I accidentally added a stitch somewhere, and I was able to just tink back about 10 stitches and get that removed. But so far I haven't had a problem, and I think that's probably because I'm taking my time with it, because I'm trying to understand how everything works. Now the other thing I keep in here, well, I am keeping an additional ball of this mandala yarn. This stuff sold out so quickly. I found it at one Walmart, and I was only able to find one cake of each of the different colorways, except for this one, which is called Wood Nymph. And I got lucky that there were two of these, and I'm really excited that there's actually enough yarn to finish this shawl, because the other pie shawl that I showed you, I only have one skein or one cake of that yarn, and I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it with that. I do have another cake. It's I made some socks with it, and I've got about half the cake left, so I'm hoping that what I can do is, since it's also a blue um, colorway, it's got gradients in it, that it'll go with the one I've gotten here, and I can just finish it using that one. Which, really, it's kind of a trial and error project anyway. It's not really something that I would like sell. I might give it to somebody, but it's really kind of just a practice knit. I don't know if anybody else does practice knits, but I do practice knits. You know, if I want to do a pie shawl, I'll practice knitting a pie shawl, and that's exactly what that is. When I wanted to make socks, I knit a pair of practice socks, which I ended up giving to a friend. She really liked them. They were a little big on her, but of course they were designed for my feet. But she was getting ready to have surgery, and she wanted hospital socks, so she asked me if she could have the practice socks, and I said yes. They turned out okay. There were a few mistakes in them, but I have pictures of all of the things that I finished on my Instagram, and I'll link all of that below so that you can see those projects. One of the other things I keep in my bag is I have a Windows tablet. This is a Windows HP Pro tablet. I am an Apple person. I love iPads, I love iPhones, I have a MacBook. That's what I prefer to use. And my iPad Pro is kind of my computer, my laptop, because my laptop is actually my home computer. So, but I like taking patterns with me sometimes, but not on paper. The paper is sometimes really hard to, or the binder is hard to carry around sometimes. So I have all of my patterns on this tablet as well, which I keep in this bag, just in case I am on the go and I don't want to try and keep a binder up. So I have a tablet in here too. It actually probably needs to be charged. I haven't used it in probably 2 weeks because I've been home. The last thing I have is a hanging toiletries bag. This came in with all the stuff where my mom bought the folding storage cubes. This came in one of the other orders that she had. She loves this kind of stuff, and I'm really glad she does. Because this holds everything. This is my notions bag. This is everything I need ever. And, of course, it unzips, and up like this. So it's got 2 pockets. I keep circular cords because I have a set of interchangeables and then I have some fixed ones. Also have some glue and a pen in here. I don't know what I use the glue for. I haven't used it, but I have it just in case. I have a pair of scissors that I keep in here. My needles and crochet hooks are in here as well. I'm going to show you how I do that, or how I keep those in here without getting messed up. But the other thing is in this front pouch, I have, you know, my safety pins. There's, well, a lot of safety pins. But there's some paper clips, my yarn needles, my keys and stoppers for my interchangeable needle set. My interchangeables are Knitter's Pride Nova Platinas. I don't have the cubics. I've tried the cubics. I don't like them. I know that they're supposed to be more ergonomically friendly, but I find that the edges actually rub against some of my, the squishier part of my fingers, and it actually hurts to hold them more, and I prefer the roundness. Also, the cubics don't feel as quick to me because they can't slide edge to edge together as easily as completely spherical ones, not spherical, conical ones. So I mean, I understand the point of the cubics, but I really prefer the regular platinas that are just completely smooth. But I do have the keys and stoppers for those. I have some rubber bands, my flexible tape measure, and there's another pen in there. But the other thing I keep is my crochet hooks and my knitting needles. And I saw this pattern online on on YouTube, actually. Somebody did a tutorial on this. I made pouches, like foldable pouches for my crochet hooks. So my crochet hooks are in here. I don't have a lot of crochet hooks, but it's got plenty of pouches to add. So this one holds all of my crochet hooks. This one holds the knitting needles that I'm not using. I've got some double pointeds in here, some straights. I'm working on getting more straight needles. I have found that I actually really like using circulars even for straight knitting because it holds all the project on there really well. So I have some straights, but they're aluminum. Again, knitting on a budget. It's the aluminum ones you get from Walmart. They do the job, and that's all I really need is them to do the job for now. At some point in the future, I would love to be able to get really nice straight needles, but for what I do, I don't need anything fancy right now. So I crocheted these pouches for my knitting needles and my crochet hooks, and those go in my notions bag. They slip right behind this bottom pocket, just in here, and I pull them out when I need them. But most of my projects are on circulars, and I'm not doing that many projects, so right now the needles actually just stay connected to the cords instead of putting it on stoppers and moving the needles around, only because I'm not using the same size needles for all of my different projects. So that's that, and that goes down in this bag, and then I put the one project on top of it. And that is everything actually that I have right now. I do plan on casting on some more socks soon because I've got some friends that really want them. And yeah. So there's a few things that I would like to do with knitting. I am really into the idea of yarn dyeing. I have not really met anybody out here in Las Vegas that does any yarn dyeing except for the knit shop, but I've been thinking of some really cool inspirational, or yarns inspired by the things I experience here in Las Vegas. Not just the casinos or anything like that. The landscape is a bit different than a lot of people are used to. There's a lot of different really cool things here, and I want to use that as inspiration to dye yarn. I've never dyed yarn before, but I have watched quite a few tutorials on it, and I would like to give it a try. Only because it's one thing when you make a gift for someone and say, I thought about you when I made this. It's another thing, to me at least, where I could say, I was thinking about you, these colors reminded me of you, so I dyed a yarn that in colors that reminded me of you, and then I made this object using that yarn. It just adds a level of thought and love to the gifts that I want to create for people. With that said, eventually I would also like to design patterns, so then if I could dye a yarn, design a pattern, and knit that pattern for someone. It's basically an entire gift that was thought out from beginning to end. And I think that would be really cool to do. Even if I don't make any kind of money doing it, I think it would just be really fun. So yeah, that's kind of where I see myself going with knitting, is just continuing to get better, hopefully finishing projects faster. I would like to do this podcast every 2 weeks and have some new stuff to show you, but with starting this new job, I don't know how much time I'm going to have, so hopefully I'll have something new to show you in a couple of weeks. From there, I just want to share a little bit about my favorite things, not necessarily with knitting. So I got this idea from Tracy and Jody with the All of Our Needles podcast over on Craftsy. and every podcast they had a little bit of their favorite things, and a lot of them had to do with knitting, but some of them did not. By the way, Tracy and Jody, thank you for mentioning Slow TV on Netflix. You mentioned it, I found it, I watched it. I am currently in the middle of the 8.5-hour train ride. As somebody who loves trains, and I'm not kidding, at some point I'll show you a little bit around my house, but I love model trains, and I have them kind of everywhere. I've got 4 different sizes. I've got trains everywhere. So I didn't know that existed, so Tracy and Jody, thank you for mentioning Slow TV on Netflix. I love that. I also watched the Norwegian world record attempt for the sheep to sweater, a world record attempt, where they try to, they shear a sheep, then they hand the wool to spinners, the spinners spin the wool into yarn, and then they give the yarn to knitters, and the knitters then have to create the pieces of a sweater that they would sew together. They lost the world record. They didn't beat the record. Australia, I believe, still currently holds that record, but they gave it a good effort. It was really interesting, so thank you for that. That's one of my favorite things now, is Slow TV. Check it out on Netflix. It's really cool. Other favorite things. So right now, I am reading Deadly Decisions by Kathy Reichs. If you don't know who Kathy Reichs is, she is a forensic anthropologist and novelist. Her life is the inspiration for the TV show Bones. If you love Bones, the books are kind of where they grabbed a lot of those characters from. Bones, the TV show, features a character named Temperance Brennan, who writes novels in her spare time about a character named Kathy Reichs. Kathy Reichs is a real-life forensic anthropologist who writes books about a character named Temperance Brennan. The TV show and the books are vastly different, but I think they're exciting, they're scientifically accurate, which is another important thing. You can actually learn while being entertained, which is great. I love that. I just started it, but this is the 3rd book. I'm trying to read them in order, so this is her 3rd book. The first one is Deja Dead, and the second one is Death du Jour. Those were really great, so I'm on the 3rd one. I've got quite a bit to go. There's, I think, 12 more books after that. So I'm reading that. What I'm watching right now, so I like to watch, I kind of like everything. If somebody were to tell me to watch something, I'm the kind of person that I will probably like it. If somebody else likes it, I will probably like it. There are very few things that I don't find entertaining. Horror being one of them. I don't like horror. Right now I'm actually watching DC's Supergirl, Arrow, The Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow. And I was really upset when they took them off Hulu because I used to watch them the day after, but now they're all on Netflix. The only issue is you have to watch them in the order that they aired because they do a lot of crossover type things. Yes, they stand alone, but this past television season, they had a 4-night crossover. So it started on Supergirl, then went to Flash, then went to Arrow, then went to Legends of Tomorrow. And you had to watch all 4 in order to understand the entire story. So I printed off a list of the TV shows in the order that they aired so that I can go back and watch them. So I've been doing that. That's actually what I spent a good portion of my day doing today. Other than that, I'm watching Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt Season 3. I'm watching Merlin, the BBC show from several years ago. I'm in Season 4 of that, and I haven't brought myself to watch any more of it because I already know how it ends, and I really just don't want to get there because I know I'm going to cry like a baby. If you've seen Merlin, you'll know what I'm talking about. I like stand-up comedy. Just been watching a lot of stand-up comedy. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. And then, really the only other thing I have that's kind of my favorite things right now is I bought the AirPods for the iPhone. Again, I'm an Apple fan, so I bought the AirPods, and they're actually really nice. I'm the kind of person that uses headphones a lot, and they tend to get tangled in everything. So now I have the AirPods, and they fit perfectly in my ears, everything's really controllable, the charging case is nice, they're easy to carry around. I don't see myself losing them, only because I'm really careful about what I do with headphones, and I rarely ever lose a pair. So I see those being a great investment, actually. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to share with you today. I hope that I will in about 2 weeks or so. Anyway, guys and gals, just everybody, I hope you have a good evening. I hope to see you again in 2 weeks. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. I will have more videos in the future. Let me know that if you're somebody who is knitting on a budget, let me know the kind of things you want to know about. You know, what techniques can you do, what kind of needles, what's affordable, what isn't, what will work just fine. You know, anything like that, any questions you have. If I don't have an answer, I will look for an answer so that I can get that to you. We'll all learn a little bit along the way. Alright, so I hope you have a wonderful evening, happy knitting, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!